Hoolalali, and welcome back to Fite Sports Uncovered. Yes, we've got a fantastic show lined up yet again for you guys, and for the first time on the show in probably, I think it's 2 seasons now, we get an opportunity to talk a little bit more about the fascinating sport of Judo, or as it's otherwise known, the gentle way, if we literally translate it. And the man that's going to help me talk through and introduce to you guys a little bit more about this fascinating sport of Judo is none other than a man by the name of Dirk Crafford. He is the High Performance Director at Judo South Africa. And obviously that role of the High Performance Director of Judo South Africa requires him to do a whole bunch of things. Among others, his portfolio looks to athlete selection, looking at event selection for those high-performance athletes, also looking at the support that he's got to give to the various national coaches from around the country. So a huge welcome to the man on my left, Dirk Crafford. And Dirk, thanks so much for your time, and thanks for allowing us into this absolutely fascinating facility here in Roodepoort.
Thank you, Mark. Welcome at Full Sport, and we'll enjoy this discussion.
So Dirk, let's just kickstart. I mean, the whole sport of Judo, I mean, like I said at the introduction, literally translated, it means the gentle way. And I mean, the sport originated, back in the 1880s, sort of like a modification of Jiu-Jitsu.
That's right. The founder is Jigoro Kano. He originally is an educationist, and he saw Judo as the education. So he took the dangerous techniques from Jiu-Jitsu out, and he developed the sport of Judo, the gentle way where you can give and where you take from the opponent, use his energy and to make it a sport. And he, from Jiu-Jitsu, at that time Jiu-Jitsu wasn't like a sport, he created an area of what we call randori, free fighting, and without the dangerous technique it became a sport and a way of life.
So now the sport has obviously modified itself since, the 1880s. It's now sort of become an Olympic sport. And if we talk about the Olympics, which we'll talk about just now, but before we get to sort of where the Olympic sort of charter has taken Judo to, let's talk about Judo here in South Africa and on the African continent. How would you sort of summarize the state of Judo right now in South Africa?
With the COVID-19, it's got an effect, but we'll have a discussion on that a bit later. But currently, we've got a continental competition for cadets, as well as juniors, and then the senior competitions. That's the 3 main competitions. The cadets is under 17, the juniors is under 21, and the seniors is open category. So there's one competition of that for the whole continent once a year. Currently the African Championship is moved away to December. Cadets and juniors, we didn't get a discussion yet on what the time, but every year. Then South Africa's got a national competition. It's normally the end of June, begin July, but as we say, we will see the calendar of the year for the schools, and we will see if we can have a national competition this year. But we've got the competition, the national competition is 1 week, and then during this competition, it's the competition for cadets, juniors and seniors, as well as schools competitions. That's the under 12 years and the under 13 years age group.
Looking at the number of judokas that you have in the country, on your website, roughly 3,000 judokas around the country, about 100 plus clubs operating throughout the country. And like I saw, it seems predominantly focused around 3 major provinces, Gauteng, Western Cape and the Eastern Cape, and that's further broken down into districts.
That's 100%. That's the main areas. There's some judo in the northwest and Mpumalanga and the northern province. In the Northern Cape, there's no judo actions yet, and we're looking to develop that area. But the Gauteng area is split up into 5 districts. The districts are Umfeleni, that's Van der Bijl Park, then Ekurhuleni, then Joburg, then West Rand, as well as Joburg, the municipality areas. Then the Western Cape is broken down into districts. That's the Cape Winelands, Cape Town, then the Southern Cape, it's George area, Knysna area, as well as Vredendal. That's also another district in that areas.
So it seems fairly widespread.
Widespread. What I didn't mention is KwaZulu-Natal, always been a strong province from Durban people, as well as the Pietermaritzburg area, and then more to Richards Bay area, there's also a strong club.
If we look at where, as you've just outlined, the length and breadth of judo across the country, I see also that you guys got a very, very strong youth development policy out. And what's the development like been, let's say, over the last 2-3 years for Judo South Africa?
Development, we're doing quite well in the way of developing players for the national cadets, and that. In Bloemfontein, we've got a centre for development and high performance. Then the ECOS, Eastern Cape Sport Academy, and we've got the Western Cape Sports Academy, and we've got a strong a group of players development for national team in Pretoria at Tuks University. That's the hubs that we use to uplift the players to higher level.
And in terms of that development, I mean, we don't see very many judokas coming through at the very, very highest level. I mean, we have maybe a handful at most, and is the hope that over the next couple of years we're going to start to see far more of the top level judokas coming through to compete at world level?
Currently we've got two competitors, girls, Unel Snyman and Michaela Whiteboy, who's potential Olympians. The previous Olympians, we had one player, Zak Piontek. For that group, you prepare 3 players, but 1 qualify. Then the year before that, in London, we had 1 player, and the 4 years before that, in Greece, we had 3 qualification men. So yes, we try our best to get the people through to qualification, but the constraint on money, because the qualification tournaments is the majority in Europe and Asia, and the cost for traveling and get people to prepare for that is quite immense.
Let's talk a little bit about that, because like most other martial arts or combat sports that I've spoken to on the show, finance, funding, financial support seems to be one of the biggest hurdles taking the sport to the next level. From what I'm hearing you say, it's exactly the same at judo.
It's exactly the same, and that means the difference of the amount of players you can qualify. If we got finances for, let's say, for 6 players, we will qualify at least 3. But because of the financial, because they need the experience to fight in big competitions. You can't fight in South African Championship, think you can go to the Olympics and you will make the second round. You have to prepare yourself, like both the players from South Africa. Michaela is African champion currently. Unel is number 2 in Africa, got a silver medal at Africa. For them to qualify, they will achieve the same standards at 2020 African Championship, because you get a good amount of points for qualifying for the Olympics.
Dirk, you spoke about that difference in levels.
Yes.
From nationals here in South Africa through to Olympics. Now, I'm assuming that the step up from nationals into Africans is also a very, or let's call it continentals, is a big step, and then there's that further step up into Olympics?
100%. If you look at the step up from Africa to the Olympics, in Africa, there's only 2 countries who've got medals in the Olympics. It's Egypt and Tunisia. For World Championship, it's a bit wider. It's Egypt, Tunis, Algeria, and Morocco.
All the Northern Africa.
All Northern Africa. The cost to fight get experience. Let's say getting experience in Europe is much easier for them, as well as for Egypt towards Asia. It's not that expensive to travel. For them to Japan, it's not that difficult. But for South Africa, it's the time difference as well as the cost implementation that is quite difficult for South African judo players.
Correct me if I'm wrong. If I look at the way judo is set up, 7 weight divisions across both men and female. Yes. How difficult is it for us as South Africans to fill those weight divisions, specifically in the women? I would think it's very, very difficult, but in the men, not so much.
No, I would say in Africa, our women's standards is a bit higher than the men's standards, because the sport in men is very difficult. And also in South Africa as well, the standard age difference for an Olympian in Africa is 28 to 34. In South Africa, that age group of men have to get a wife and support a family. So the cost and to give up that part of your life is very difficult. South Africans, Zak Piontek was 24 years at Rio Olympics. After the Olympics, he's put in 6 years of his life to qualify and to participate, and he did very well. But for him to do another cycle for the Olympics, he can't afford it, because he got a wife, he's got a child, he have to train 6 hours a day, 6 days a week, and earn a living. It's very difficult. While women, maybe they've got maybe a bigger support system. So, and then the standard of women in Africa, South African women are reasonable good. As I mentioned at the last African Championship, we got a gold and a silver, and we can say we in the top 4 countries in Africa in that way.
Well, you're hearing it. Nothing different to what you've heard on countless other shows that we've done here on Fite Sports Uncovered. One of the biggest problems sort of holding back many of our top prospects, our top athletes, is quite simply access to financial resources. Obviously, that financial resource flows over into facilities, into training regimens, into being able to get access to some of the best coaches. You're hearing it right now. Judo South Africa seeing nothing different to what countless of the other martial arts have been experiencing. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to unpack a little bit more of the impact of COVID-19 on judo here in South Africa, and more so about the Olympics and what's coming up for judo at the Olympics, which, as you know, has now been postponed until 2021. Don't go away, we'll be right back.
Introducing the new, fresh, and exciting Rhapsody of Realities app 3.0. The Messenger Angel Rhapsody of Realities just got a new updated app for reading Rhapsody Daily articles. Enjoy reading and listening to your Rhapsody on the go while taking advantage of these amazing features. Brand new design. Enjoy the new design built to take advantage of the latest technologies to make your app experience awesome. It's simpler and easier to use. With just one click, you have access to the article for the day. It's that easy. Sync notes. Pin down moments of divine inspiration while studying the devotional and sync them to the cloud to be available anywhere, anytime. A new interactive store. Visit the store and get all books by Reverend Dr. Chris Oyakhilome for people of all ages and download them to your library. Store your favorite books in an easy access folder. Enjoy unlimited access when you upgrade to our premium subscription. Gain access to the complete package of Rhapsody of Realities every month. This includes the entire month's devotional on the go with free audio devotional add-ons. Track your reading habits daily with our automated calendar and identify unread days for the devotional. Read further studies right within the app. Download the new Rhapsody mobile app today for free and be inspired anytime and everywhere on the go. Available on the Google Play Store.
Welcome back to Fite Sports Uncovered, and if you missed the first part of the show, we're sitting here in Roodepoort with one of the big boys, if I can put it that way, of Judo South Africa. We're talking to Dirk Crafford a little bit more about the gentle way, as Judo is often referred to. And like I said, if you missed the first part of the show, we're talking a little bit about where Judo came from, how Judo has progressed and built itself up here in South Africa. Not a very big sport by comparison to many of the other martial arts in South Africa, but very, very definitely a passionate following here in South Africa. And to carry on that conversation, like I said, I'm talking to Dirk Crafford. He's head of high performance at Judo South Africa. Dirk, we mentioned before the break the impact of COVID-19, the big break that has taken place, and let's call it the sporting hiatus across the world. Very, very quickly, summarize for me COVID-19 and its impact on Judo in South Africa 10 weeks in.
Mark, it's very difficult. There's no classes, no payment. So some of the clubs make a living, the coaches make a living out of the judo. So it's very difficult for them. Lots of them went into Zoom classes with groups of kids and judo players, then send out programs to the players to follow as individuals training. The national coach every week sends out to the national players a program with some video coverage to those. Then, so the big effect is on the person itself. Then the big program, like South Africa spend lots of money on the two players who's possible can qualify for the Olympics, and there's two players who can qualify for the Paralympics. For the Paralympics, there were only two competitions left. The players need to get a fifth place and a third place at the IPSAC tournaments. That's available, who will qualify them. So those competition is cancelled and new ones will be scheduled in the new year. We don't know if there'll be more competitions now that will affect their rankings. As I say, the one is 14th in the world, the other one is 20th in the world, and the top 13 qualify. Then in the Olympics, the two girls, Unel Snyman, she already is a direct qualification, and Michaela is continental qualifications. They need the African Championships for qualification, as well as maybe two results at continental competitions. So that can change. There's a possibility that some of the injured players from other countries will now enter the Olympic competitions, and that can affect qualifications for our players. But we, Judo South Africa, believe the two women and the two visually impaired players, International Blind Association is IPSA, that can still qualify. So we're waiting for the new year. The International Judo Federation has put down certain COVID precaution measures that countries will have to adhere to. Judo South Africa also put down some COVID-19 program to SASCOC, the South African Olympic Committee, and that we will follow when it opens. But internationally, it seems it will be opening in October. Okay. And the first competitions will be in November, December, because they also need that everybody is at the same level of preparation when they do the world tour and the international competitions. So for us players, we have to prepare fitness and strength and endurance and speed training on themselves. And if it opens, when it opens, let's say it's not if, We can start with standard training with partners and with judo is a very physical sport. You need they train in each one's faces because you have to have a grip to do judo. You have to try to throw the opponent on his back and to hold him down or to try to go for an arm lock or a strangulation. So the effect that we can't really do judo at this time. Physically, it's impossible to prepare everybody for a safe environment. It's not there. So if it's possible and we can train by August, we can get our players prepared for the African Championship. And
because I was going to ask, obviously Zoom training sessions, your national coaches sending down videos to the various athletes, that, like you said, can only really work on speed. It can only really work on fitness because, that's right. Judo, like most martial arts, is a contact sport. And until we can get into those contact situations again, which is very much outside of COVID-19 protocols as we see them at the moment, judo is not going to progress any further under COVID-19 regulations.
It's very, very difficult. As you mentioned, I think it's really impossible. But the International Judo Federation feel that 2 months preparation before competition will be good enough. So as I say, South Africa, the way I personally see it, is not at the same standard as Germany or France or Italy at the current stage. So they've lifted some restrictions in those countries. So there'll be an effect on our players that they will work very hard and be late developers for that.
Obviously, what has happened as a result of COVID-19 is that we now know that the Olympics has been moved out.
The Olympics is moved out. The players, I had a chat with them. For them, it's a life ambition, and they've made lots of sacrifices. So for them, if it's cancelled, it can mean a dream that they've missed.
Absolutely. So I mean, that's a big thing for them.
So on their mind, all 4 players got a sports psychologist who will speaking to them, and who will they see afterwards that will have an effect on them.
But it's not just the Olympics, because I understand that the Commonwealth Games as well has also been moved out. That was
Commonwealth Championship would have been hosted by South Africa in August.
In Port Elizabeth.
In Port Elizabeth. Yes. It's a home advantage where we could enter in some categories 4 people in a category. We could have entered 2 in a category. So that's part of our development program, that we give opportunities for the South Africans, and where they develop to African Championship, and then they can qualify for world competitions. So that's an effect. It's cancelled. The Commonwealth Committee gave it back to South Africa for 2023. So we still got the competition. We can still carry on, make our players positive, as well as the Commonwealth. That's also different, that I think I must mention. They've got a younger age group, pre-cadets. Okay. So your 13 to 15-year-olds can participate as well. For international competition, only above 16 years are you allowed to participate in the International Judo Federation World Tours and competitions.
Let's unpack a little bit more about the Olympic Games. Now, I mean, judo is one of the longest serving sports on the Olympic sort of panel. We look 1964, I think it was the very first event that judo was held. 68, it wasn't held. Then it was back on until I think the very first women were allowed to participate. That was back in 1988, and that was under demonstration only. And then I think it was 1994 was the first time that a woman could medal in judo at an Olympic Games.
Yeah, 92.
92, sorry,
92.
Yeah.
Yes, that you're 100% correct with that. So, judo was also classified as a level C sport at the Olympics in London. That was a very high classification. Judo is the second biggest Olympic sport. It's only track and field that's got more countries at the Olympic Games than judo. Lots of flag bearers in judo was carrying the flag for their countries at the Olympics. And from the Olympic side, we're very proud that there's no discrimination between men and women. It's 7 weight categories for men, 7 for women. So it's a women's sport for the viewers. It's a very good self-defense as a sport. So for your daughters, they welcome at our sport, and they train against men and women, and lots of time your junior men under 20 years, they are the same level than the senior women, that you can't really believe that women are so strong and good. The development, we've got 2 very good young women. Jasmine Martin, she's training in Britain at their high performance center. And then we've got Shanae Griesel, a very young up and coming woman in Pretoria. So the health of the judo sport in women's side is looking well for South Africa. Men, yes, we've got some good youngsters at the African Championship, cadets and juniors. Every year we pick up gold medals and silver medals to say that the standard of our youth is good. But as we mentioned before, the cost when they have to step up to the next level, it's quite difficult for our players.
Summarizing judo, if we were, because the thing is, combat sports has literally been, if I could call it, resuscitated by the explosion of MMA and obviously boxing coming back into the fold. But in judo terms, the knockout in judo is the ippon.
It's the ippon. To achieve the ippon is a submission by strangulation or arm lock, or thrown on your back. And
with force.
With force, 100%. It's not just on the back. In judo, we've got the throws to get somebody on the back. You've got the throws throwing backwards and forward and to the side, the different directions. So if you compete against another player, if you see his movement, the one who's doing the throw needs to develop to see what direction he's going to throw. If the person pulls him back, he's put more weight and balance onto the heels, he will get a backward throw. If he, as they say, follow the opponent, he's definitely going to be to the throw to the front, because we don't want the player to follow another player because he's walking into the trap of getting thrown onto his back. Very impressive to think that 2 people of the same category, one person can throw another person on the back. But even different weights in trainings, we see that you can get a lightweight that can throw a heavier weight, maybe 10, 20 kilograms heavier than him. Throw him when the person is following or there's an action on a reaction. Because with combat sports, it's always action-reaction. The one is moving, the other one react, and then there's a possibility. Breaking the balance, getting into a position, or what we say, make space, and then a point of no return is a throw. And in judo, we call it a kazushi, tsukuri, and gaki, to throw a person. So there is scientific ways of throwing a person. It's not just brute force. There's making, giving yourself an opportunity to throw the opponent. But at the time when you trying to do the throw, there's always the option for the partner to use your technique to throw you. So lots of training with partners, and the effect on COVID is that we miss that part of judo.
Well, there you have it. If you ever wanted an education on judo, no better person to talk about it than the Director of High Performance here at Judo South Africa. Dirk, thank you so much for your time.
Mark, great pleasure, and thanks for hosting us on your program, and at any time, feel free to contact us.
Well, this is the very first opportunity that we've had to talk to Judo South Africa. I can promise you now, it's not going to be the last. So from all of us here at Fite Sports Uncovered, once again, Dirk, thanks for your facilities, thanks for your time. We're going to be back next week. You're going to have to stay tuned. We've got something really, really special lined up. But until then, protect yourselves at all times. We're out of here.